Yeah, well, here at Mirrapin, our farm at Woodnelling, we've got 6,000 acres or 2,400 hectares, and 1,200 hectares of that is arable. So we've got quite a large proportion of salt land. A lot of that salt land is these very degraded valleys, which are almost like floodplain valleys of samphire, and some of it's never been cleared. But some of the better salt areas I've been trying to plant some salt bush on. Of our 1,200 arable hectares, we crop about 700 hectares and run about 4,000 grown sheep on the other 500 hectares. And my first try at sowing some saltbush pastures was after we had some reasonably good success with a group, Beaufort Flats pasture group, and one of the best pastures we had there was a direct seeded saltbush trial, and so I brought that back onto the farm and I've sown 20 hectares direct seeded saltbush with an understory of mainly tall wheatgrass, but some kikuyu and some subtropical grasses. And there's volunteer puccinelia here as well. And it was sown in 2005, which was a very dry year here. No, actually, no, it wasn't. 2005 was very wet. The spring was very dry, and 2006 was very dry, probably our lowest rainfall year for a long time anyway. And so it was slow to get started, but it's certainly a very, very good pasture now. And through 2008 and 2009 we've been rotationally grazing it in the autumn, comparing it to unimproved pasture, and then we've also sown some Ayers Green in alleys with no understory sown, so we've been able to compare our direct seeded with the alleys of Ayers Green, and overall it's been very pleasing. We're getting somewhere to put sheep in the autumn that we wouldn't normally have, and that helps reduce our supplementary feeding. And I guess if we get an early break, it is allowing for some deferment of annual pastures elsewhere on the farm, and or some early canola seeding. And I'm still finding my way with the best use of the pasture and what I think is the best way to use it, where it's going to fit in the whole system. But we're getting some very good biomass production. We're getting up to 4 tonnes per hectare of understory and saltbush off this direct seeded site, and we're getting probably about half, not as much off of the Ayers Green sites, but that's because the density of the pasture on the direct seeded is much higher. We've got up to 1,000 stems per hectare of saltbush on the direct seeded site, and 400 stems per hectare of the cuttings of Ayers Green, and there's a direct relationship between stems per hectare and biomass production. So yeah, that's about it. The cost of sowing this direct seeded pasture was about just under $500 a hectare, and the cost of putting the Ayers Green cuttings in was about $300 a hectare. So the payback periods are quite different. They're saying about 5 years for the cuttings and 11 years for the direct seeded, but the benefit, I guess, of the high density planting is that you get more biomass, so you've got more grazing. So I guess it really just boils down to what you might want to do. I'm happy with both plantings, and I think just once I tweak and work out what's the best way to utilise the pasture, that'll be the good use of it.